my fellow Americans. A diva's down. I actually don't even know what the fuck I'm saying right now. So we're just gonna start riffing. We're just gonna start riffing off of the dome as and then we'll see what happens. I'm feeling very demure and mindful today, and it's cold in my house. Oh, my fellow Americans. My fellow Americans. I feel like I gotta talk about fucking time, space, God, angels, energies, universe, team of light. I gotta talk about what the fuck I'm doing with my life. I gotta talk about this book, Conversations with God, an Uncommon Dialogue. I have a lot of Jesus to get into with you folks, if you don't mind. If you don't mind, a bitch gets a little Christian with it. If you don't mind the background change, because I'm comfier this way. Okay? This is your host, Kayla G with Big Sister Sesh. And I don't know why it's been so hard for me to record a fucking podcast, but it has been. Hey. Hey, I'm human. Hey. I'm fallible. I feel safer like this. I feel incognito mode. I feel like no one can hurt me, no one can touch me. Um, I feel like a good Christian, truthfully. I'm all wrapped up. Let's pull up the notes. Let's pull up the notes of all the shit that I'm trying to fucking talk to you about. And I have to be ever so gentle because I don't want this to knock my phone over. Oh, first of all, I think most importantly, I have so many things I want to cover today. One of them being decentering men, but before we get into that, I have to tell you about the 5 crushes that I have. Which I saw a theory on TikTok.gov about how if you have 5 crushes, you're not hyperfixating on any of them. So yeah, because I find myself, I'm like, oh, I want to decenter men, and then in my head that means I can't think about them or have any kind of interaction with them, and bye 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 bye. But that's also not true, and that's unrealistic. I am but a woman. I am but a woman in my 28s. And so I find the solution is to have a diverse portfolio. So I'm not like, no, not too many eggs in una basqueta, por favor. So all that being said, I am trying to decenter men, but in a way that in a way that feels good to me. So I have 5 crushes. The first one is the guy who works the front desk at my gym. Nothing further, Your Honor. I'm not going to specify anything more because, God forbid, if he stalks me the way that I stalked him, he can find this podcast, he can tune in, and he will know who he is because. Any hoozles. There's also 3 angels at my gym that I have crushes on as well. And the 5th one, is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I actually have 6. The 5th one is this guy that has circled back around. He actually never left. Well, he left once I told him I was dating somebody, but he still kind of checked in every once in a while. But he found out that I'm single again. As they do, girl. As they fucking they, like hawks, they just come around circling their prey and whatnot. He's like in the peripheries of the picture, but he's the only one I've had actual conversation with. Yeah, all the gym crushes, might I mention, haven't spoken a word to them other than the front desk guy who's like, I'm gonna work out. And I'm like, but that's neither here nor there. More on that later. My 6th crush, and I do think the more the merrier. I do think there is such a thing as too many crushes. But for all intents and purposes, right now, I think 6 is comfortable, and I'll let you know when I've exceeded the threshold for data purposes and scientific purposes. My sixth crush is a guy who works at, he's not really a crush, but he's cute and he's nice to look at, so that's fine. Which I guess you would call a crush. Hey, circling back to that. Double tapping on that, double clicking on that. I love incorporating corporate lingo in my very not corporate life. Sidebar. Anyway, he works at the re- bar that I frequent. I do an admin night there, which girls, if you're not doing admin night is the tits, and I stand on that. But he works at the bar where I do admin night, and I don't drink, so I get like a fucking Topo Chico, and sometimes he asks like so many times if I want anything else, and I'm like, you just want to talk to me, and then it's probably that he's like, spend money here, but in my head it's because he likes me. Okay, so now to the decentering men part. But honestly, I do feel like this has helped. And today I realized that men are just like a fucking accessory. I wrote this in my I wrote this in my journal. Me thinking I'm so deep with it. I said men are an accessory, not the whole outfit, bitch. But you know what I mean? For a long time, I've been like, I need to find an outfit to wear. And I'm like, bitch, he's like at best a bracelet. He is at best a handbag. And that's at best. Because sometimes a handbag can make or break the outfit. So I actually take that back. He is at best a bracelet. And like, I can do without a bracelet, girl. Sometimes I don't even wear bracelets. And that's the point. And in my head, that went fucking hard. But saying it out loud, I feel stupid. My first note is trying to decenter men, but then what the fuck is this whole podcast and TikTok and my TikTok? Well, the thing is, I wrote that February 12th. It is now the 22nd. So a lot of time has gone by. I've had a lot of time to think. And the time in that time, I have determined what I've just shared with you here. So I've had a very interesting realization, or not interesting, but I've just had a very, it's not just a realization, I actually feel it now that men are just like a nice to have. They're not a need. And that feels really fucking good. More on that later. Been trying to be out in the world more. I stopped doing that for a while because I was becoming a shell of who I was. But I realize I actually really need other human interaction than just with the man that I'm seeing. And I gotta work through that in therapy for sure. Because I know that in my head, but like actually realizing it, what the fuck? I've made a lot of time for the girly pops and also just myself. And also just like taking myself out and like being my own love and like being my best person. I'm like buying myself flowers. I'm like, you know what I mean? But actually the stuff that matters. And here to report that it actually does work and my life feels very full. And even though I'm $40 poorer, the bouquet of flowers, I will never be impressed by another bouquet of flowers. You better buy me flowers. That's like my baseline, bitch. I buy myself nice flowers and I buy myself nice coffees. I take myself to nice dinners and I go nice places and I speak nicely to myself. And if you're not doing that every single day, bouquet every day, bouquet every day. Imagine I actually demanded that of a man. It's not like out of the question. I don't know. Sometimes I see these TikToks of like finding a high value man. And this one girl was like, if he doesn't bring me a gift on the first 4 dates, and I said, a gift? I'm lucky if this son of a bitch wants to pay for it. Just kidding. No, I've never been in that position. I've also never offered. I've also never even pretended to be like, oh my, you want, girl? I'm not doing that. Mm-mm. I am very secure in the fact that you will be paying for this date. But to expect a gift on top of that, which hey, actually we should. A gift can also just be flowers. You can bring me flowers, something that we talked about on the first date. So if I say that I like music, buy me concert tickets. It doesn't have to be $1 million. It can be a $15 local band. Etc. etc. It's not hard. I just want to hear that you're listening. I just want to know that you're listening. I just want to know that the words that I'm saying, you're just like, yes, I respect this woman, which is Imagine that. Imagine a man listening and respecting. Listen, I don't want to be in my man hating era. I don't want to be in my in hello. I don't want to be in my incognito mode, but you've given me no choice. I'll come out. I'll come out of my shell soon, maybe in a couple years. I'll be ready to like, oh, but like why? Why would you want to engage a man? Not, do you know what I mean? Like just dating is so exhausting, but then if a guy came up to me and was really cute and he asked to take me on a date, I'd be like, do you know what I mean? I I I fear this podcast is going to be a lot of bits and not a whole lot of coherency. Is that a word? Another thing, completely off topic. Did you, not really though, did you know that alcohol and weed put you in the same dissociative state as actually dissociating? Is that common knowledge? Is that something I should have known? Because I was talking to my lay therapist about it. Because we were getting into a pretty juicy subject in my life, and I started to dissociate, and I've never actually clocked the fact that I dissociate. Like I think I've known peripherally that I do that, but IRL, I was like, I think I'm dissociating right now. And then she was like, are you dissociating right now? And I was like, yeah. And then she said, well, that makes, and then like she drew the parallel of my previous alcohol and weed abuse, which, honey, I did abuse it to the fullest extent. Gotta wet the whistle. Also, the tea bag broke, so if I have like tea leaves in my teeth, hey, be fucking cool. That was something to clock. That was something to behold, I suppose. I'm also beholding life, I feel, for the first real time. I got sober 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now. And before that, I drank and smoked in hella excess since the age of like 15. And so I just feel like a newborn child emerging from lay womb that is this world of doing life for the first time fully in my body. And it feels fucking good, but it is also a process that I should have learned when I was 15. So I feel like a little baby boobabeo in some ways, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to find grace for that. I hate saying that, but I'm trying to find grace for that. All that's to say is alcohol and weed make you dissociate. And that's not real stress relief because that shit will catch up to you at some point. Like it doesn't release the stress. It tucks it away for some time, which is something I'm clocking right now as I'm processing this breakup. I am processing every breakup I've ever been through because I was also drunk or high for all of those. Like literally in high school, I was such a stoner. Like I smoked 3 times a day when I was 15 onward up until I was 20 something, like 23. And then I kind of chilled out a little bit, but I didn't fully stop until I stopped drinking. Um, and I keep having dreams of all my different exes, and like I feel my subconscious working through shit because when I wake up, I'm kind of in a fuck ass mood. Like, why did I just dream about my ex from middle school or high school? Can we not? Pardon, but alas, such is the universe. It is interesting. I'll give you that. I'm like, damn, I haven't thought about that man in forever. Then I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen. Oh yeah, that probably did affect me in some major way. Right, right, right. So I don't know. I don't mean to be on my sobriety preachy box, but I am about to be on my sobriety and Christianity preachy soap opera moment this week, this podcast. But hopefully not in like a way that makes you turn this off. um because my millions and when I say millions, I mean millions of listeners. That's actually it. I have millions of listeners. I'm trying to say that though, for real, because okay, we're getting on the Christianity soapbox. Um, why did I say soap opera before? Is that what's the phrase? Anyway, when I used to say I truly believe in the power of words. Like if you say I'm a piece of shit, I'm fat, I'm a loser, I'm broke, I truly believe that that comes into the world. Okay, God, and I was kidding about that. So that was just an example. Please don't attract that shit to me. Thank you. Um and so in these previous episodes I've been like my three listeners. That's cap, okay? Me capping on myself. I have millions of listeners and you bitches are one of them. You know what I'm saying? Now, how this relates to Christianity, I'm so glad you asked. I'm reading a book called Conversations with God, an Uncommon Dialogue. And if you don't know, I have been on my Christian shit for since last Easter. I've always been a very spiritual person, but I never really connected with the church when I was a kid. The church, it was a snooze fest, and I never really resonated with it. And I was also just like a punk. I was just a punk, full stop. That's the sentence. And I wanted to like question God and establishment and authority. So I was fuck this, like this is real, like blah, 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 blah. And then I got super into Buddhism in high school, or rather college. And I found a lot, like I really resonated with Buddhism, and I practiced it for a really long time. And then, and I was in that Buddhist like my own spirituality kind of vibe. I just like I've always said it to people when I talk about this stuff, so not that much, but I feel like I've made my own religion in my head. And I think a lot of people do that aren't like overtly Christian or something else. But yeah, so I went from Buddhist to like I left college and I never found a meditation group where I moved to. I moved to Richmond, Virginia, and I kind of just was in a shit relationship and like wasn't on my connected with the spirits shit. And when I moved here to Austin, Tejas, I got sober and I got super spiritual again, and I was back on my spiritual shit. So being on my spiritual shit, I kept praying to God. Like I've always prayed to God, but in my head it wasn't like a Christian God. It wasn't like Jesus. It was just kind of this power, but it always felt right to me to say God. Like that was just the word that came out when I was praying, or like, when, as you do in those hard times, you're like, God, help me, like, blah, blah, blah. I was never like the universe. Um, and I actually would actively try to not say God, like, to people because I didn't want to be associated with Christianity for a long time. Because I thought it was problematic and I didn't really understand it. Flash forward. Easter of last year, I go to my first church service in forever. I don't really know oh, I remember my in one of my cold when I used to door knock for sales, I door knocked on a church because they print a lot for their pamphlets and stuff. I sold printers, LOL TBC. I wanted to sell copiers and printers to this church. And so blah blah blah, like they were super welcoming and it made me get kind of emotional. So I decided to go to a service there the following week and I went and just cried. Like I just cried the whole time. I didn't understand why. I understand why now that the music that they use has like certain frequencies and things that open up your nervous system to like be able to release that kind of stuff. But it was also just a very like it's partially manufactured, but also part of it was this like I felt very like washed over with a sense of relief and connection. So that was like my intro back to Le Jesus. And I didn't know, like, even though I went to church when I was a kid, my parents made us go to church anyway. So I would go and hear these stories and I know all of them, but I never internalized the message or who Jesus really was or what he did or why he was important. And so I've been on my figuring out why Jesus is important shit lately. Because I also don't know the Bible. I know the Bible in bits and pieces and all over the place. I don't know like the linear story. And I went I went on a deep dive with um Professor ChatGPT, I don't know, a month ago. I've been all that's to say, I've been going to church, learning, but like still not all the pieces are put together. And when I was young, I always knew to pray to God, but like this fixation on Jesus was confusing to me. So I was like, okay, let me explore what this really meant, because you're like, okay, he was crucified and then he rose, and what did that mean and actually symbolize? Because I'm like, cool, he rose from the dead. What did that mean to people back then? Um, and basically, it was God killed his only son to save humanity and to not fear death. And there is something bigger than us. So, like, putting all these pieces together, and did this actually happen? And blah, 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 blah. So, I've been on my Jesus shit. All that's to say. And I really like the church I go to, but I still feel like there's something missing to pieces of the puzzle, which is kind of a duh to me because I know that the Bible is chopped and screwed and unk. Like, I know that it's been modified to fit a narrative, I guess, that the church wanted to have. And I don't believe in this. It's just, I'm at an interesting point where my previous religion that I had developed for myself and Christianity are merging in a way that I've always known inherently in my heart. And that feels like coming home to something, which is kind of fucking beautiful if you really think about it, I guess. um, I don't know. I think that's really beautiful to be like, oh no, I've actually inherently known this all along, and that's kind of the whole point. I've always known it's within me. The like in church, I like church. Like I'm enjoying the messaging and blah blah blah, but it still feels a little bit like above water. And there's deeper, like there's just stuff that like I've talked about this shit since I was 14 and like I've explored a lot of religious themes and like life ways to live your life. I've explored a lot of that from a very young age. So the messages are starting to be just a little bit more redundant. Not redundant, but just I already got this part. I want to go deeper, which someone might push you to be like, go to Bible study, which I haven't done yet. I don't know if the Bible study will get into the questions that I have or the conversations that I'm trying to have about like how to tap in and connect. And I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like I'm not trying to dissect the messages of Noah's Ark. I'm trying to dissect the messages that I feel like I'm receiving all the time. And this is where the tinfoil hat gets put on. But like I feel so connected to God and the spirits and angels and energies in the universe and team of light around me. I feel like I get messages all day, all the time, the fucking wind on my face. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't feel like that many people, not that I need to find those people. Like I desperately crave to seek the people who see the beauty, dare I say the godliness in like the wind on your cheek and talking about that. I need to talk about it. I'm craving this intellectual stimulation so bad. I want to question time and space and God and the universe and our purpose and how everything is, we are all just being like it's actually all within us. And but how do we actually cultivate that? It's, and I'm not intellectual enough to think critically about it by myself. I need, and maybe that's just a human thing. I just need somebody to bounce off of. And I just want that. I want that. I want to be challenged because I find myself being swayed so easily too of just reading this book. I'm like, oh, this is actually my new Bible. And I'm like, no, just take some bits and pieces and what do you think? Which is something that I've struggled with my entire life is believing everyone else but myself. Hey, it all comes back to that. Believing in yourself and like self-trust and like and like I don't believe God would say that me doing tarot cards when I'm connecting, I connect to God when I do tarot cards or my oracle cards. I am asking God, angels, energies, the universe, and my team of light. That's what I say in my head, to connect with me, to connect to the person in front of me, and deliver a message for them that they need to hear for whatever. I don't believe that my God would say that that's witchcraft and I'll burn at the stake for that, which I don't actually think is in the Bible, but that's how some people interpret it, is that's blasphemy. I don't think that. And some people say, even I'm looking at what brought that up, is I have this crystal here. Some even say like that's blasphemy. I think that's the right use of the word. And I just don't believe that that's true. I think it's all about your intent. Anyway, I want to get into the book. Hey, I know I was supposed to circle back to something, I feel, but I literally can't remember what. So we're just gonna lean and rock with it. So this book, I feel, is telling me stuff that I know already to be true, or I've felt in my heart that are true, but I'm like, I don't know if anyone else feels this way. And it just so perfectly encapsulates how I feel about religion and spirituality. And then I know other people feel this way because there's a book. So I need to find these people and I need to talk. I literally need to talk to them. I need to talk to you. So if you don't know what this book is, the premise of it is this guy is writing during a kind of difficult time in his life. He's a writer and he feels like God comes through him and starts writing through him, and he's having a conversation via pen and paper. And he just starts asking God like all of the questions that one might. I have no idea if it's real or not, but regardless, I don't know, it rings true to me. So it's true to me. Oh, this is a good one, and I know I'm going to go on a tangent about this. A huge premise of this book is love is the way, love is the answer, becoming love, choosing the loving choice, the loving thought, blah 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 blah. So this resonated so hard because I'm going through a breakup, and a lot of me and a lot of the internet say like time to get hard and like buckle down and protect your heart and be guarded and be choosy and don't open your heart so easily. And something that I've always been able to do, and again maybe to a fault, is to love and see the best in people and understand their pain and why they are the way they are and why they've hurt me. I can wrap my head around why every single person's hurt me. How, like, I can wrap my head around why every person has hurt me. That has. If that, you know what I'm saying? And so the first couple weeks of my breakup, I'm like, fucking no, God, like I'm never talking to God again. Like I suck. Blah, blah, blah. Like I'm a bad bitch. I'm cold now. Sorry, I know that's so cheesy and bleh. But it says, so in that vein, you're like, you've learned the hard way, you tell yourself, and you'll be damned if you're going to leave yourself vulnerable again. But the truth is, you'll be damned if you don't. You are better off opening yourself up to love again and again and again and again and again. And that just made me cry. Because the safer option is to become a hard shell of a person and like be harder to crack into. But the beauty and the harder thing to do is to keep being soft and keep loving. Now, I'm not saying keep being a dumb idiot. But and something my therapist said was, you can understand and love and be compassionate towards people who hurt you, but that doesn't mean you have to keep them in your life, or you can set boundaries with them. And so, as I'm keeping my heart open, I'm still going to find empathy and understanding for people, because I think everybody is like, nope, the second he does this, even friends, like the second that, ew, no, like, ew, she's like, no. Keep your mind open because we're all fallible, and maybe it's not their best day and maybe they're really nervous. And I'm sure you've had experiences like that where you've not put your best foot forward the first time around or the second or the third, and you needed some grace. You needed some grace from the Lord, honey. You are more damned if you close yourself off because you think that you've learned to be harder, like to love less. Nor. And the real way to know God is to love that way. That's the next thing that he says here. This other part. So the writer of this book says, "You make it sound so easy, and yet in the moment of decision, fear wins more often than not." He also says that there's only two emotions in this world that you act on. You have a baseline of either love or fear. So you're either making these decisions, you're making every decision about your life, about what to eat, about whether or not you go to the gym, about who you hang out with, about how hard you work, about blah 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 blah. You're making all those decisions out of fear or love. Like, are you working out because you love your body and you want to take care of it, or are you working out because you are scared of getting fat and like, oh my god, all of these like body standards that we have to live up to? That one's the most relevant in my life. And like, are you striving at work because it is out of love for yourself and like this is what fills your cup, or is it out of fear of being a failure and not making enough money? So that baseline motive has to be out of love, or else everything else is fucked. And that's hard to listen to yourself. But he says, "You have been taught to live in fear. You have been told about the survival of the fittest and the victory of the strongest and the success of the cleverest. Precious little is said about the glory of the most loving." Mic drop. But truly, it is those people that I envy. The people with the most love in their heart. The people with the most love in their life. That should be the top of the fucking totem pole. I don't care about your survival. I don't care. I don't care about how much money you make. How much love do you have? How much love do you have for your fellow soldier? So yeah, because I don't have a group to talk about this stuff with yet, y'all are just gonna have to listen to my very, very elementary musings about it. So the next thing I have is God tells us that we are the same. Like, me and you are God. And that's something that I'm coming to terms with, because in church, God is the holiest. We are nothing compared to him. Not we are nothing because we're his children, and so blah 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 blah. But God is supposed to be the most high. And in this book, he's saying, no, we are all God. And once you realize that you are so worthy and so deserving, and you are his equal, that is when you will be able to move into who you actually are and what your life path is, because you need to feel worthy of it. You need to recognize that if God created this world, we are God too. And we are made up of the same stuff. And he gave us free will, because he doesn't think he has control over us. He wants us to realize the power within us. Holy shit. And another concept he says is, this is something that I haven't put into words this way, but it's what I've felt, and why my last relationship failed is because I was like, I need somebody who I can talk to about time and space, and like wants to constantly get better and be wiser and more worldly and more spiritual and deeper and smarter. And like, I crave to be, it's not about being better, it's about being the most expansive. I want to know everything, I want to think about everything. And if you're not working towards that, if you're not working towards nourishing your soul every fucking day, what is the point? Because that's what feels good to me. That's what fuels my fire and fills my cup. And I don't understand people who don't feel that way, truthfully. But because I feel like then you're just walking through this life asleep. And he says, the spirit longs to know itself experientially. Conceptually, awareness is not enough for you. Knowing something and experiencing it are two different things. I know a lot of things and I want to talk about a lot of things, but I want to experience things too. And I want to experience myself. And that is how you know yourself. And I feel like I've known this about myself for a long time. I want to put myself in these situations to grow and be better. And I want to be around people that encourage that and are also on that same wavelength and aren't just in the rat race and chasing money in relationships that are so obviously like, you know what I mean? Like, how can you mute your soul? How can you mute your fucking inner voice so well? Because mine screams at me. Mine, if I am not aligned, like I literally feel when I'm out of alignment. It feels like death. Like it feels like I am just withering away. And when I'm in alignment and on my path, I feel it. And I need to talk to other people who understand this. I want to know more about my spirit and myself because I know that that is what this is all for. That is our purpose, is understanding ourselves and the world and the universe and remembering. It's actually all remembering, which is another concept in this book, is like all of this information is within you. And that is what hits, is that I know that. I've known these things in my soul, not in words, for a very long time. Like I have felt this way for a very long time. I just haven't verbalized it. And then to have somebody, I'm like, oh, people think this. Oh, I would like to speak with those people because there are bits and pieces of so many things that I've learned about that resonate, but aren't like, it's not the whole thing. This is another thing that I really liked. Everything in this world is people trying to figure out what the fuck it all is. Do you know? For example, in religion, you've described the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Your psychiatrists use the terms superconscious, conscious, and subconscious. Spiritualists say mind, body, spirit. Scientists say energy, matter, ether. Philosophers say a thing is not true for you until it is true in thought, word, and deed. When discussing time, you speak of three only, past, present, future. There are three moments of perception: before, now, and after. In spatial relationships, when considering the points in the universe or various points in your own room, you recognize here, there, and the space between. Like it's all God. That's all God. Everyone's trying to figure out in different terms, but it's all God. And that's not just Jesus in the sky. That is like, and Jesus was real, I think, but that's not the whole point. Okay, that's not the whole point. Do y'all know what I'm fucking on right now? Like, does anybody, hello? There's only one reason to do anything, as a statement to the universe of who you are. You have to act, and that is on becoming your highest self, bitch. Like, you have to act as your highest self. And anything that is not in service of that is a disservice to your whole life and your whole purpose. That's a universal something or other. Like we know that. We're always like, manifest as your highest self, picture your highest self, and then act as her. It's actually godly, bro. I'll only do a few more of these and then I'm wrapping up. I'm so frustrated right now, y'all. This quote says, it has been said that if you don't see God in the profane and the profound, you're missing half the story. This is a great truth. And I feel that because something that I've always felt a little bit fucked up over is like understanding tragedy and understanding death and cancer and like why babies die and why horrible shit happens. Even though it's fucked up, it is for a reason. And I might be fucked for saying this, but there was a lesson to be learned for that person and for the people around that experience it. Like a tragic car accident is period tragic, but that has a message and an impact for every single person involved. And it's up to you to be able to perceive that message and do something about it. And the same thing with even when people get cancer, it's like, oh, like how could, there's no history of it, blah, blah, blah. It might have been the way you were living, or it might be a lesson for the people around you. And if you can find the beauty in something, there is always a lesson. And that might be fucked up for me to say. And if I get cancer because of this, I'm sorry. Fuck. I'm scared now. But it's not me trying to be cold or like an asshole about it. I'm just saying, like, I feel like there is a purpose for every tragedy and every, even the bad stuff. And I see God working in it still. And that's beautiful. And that's like scary to say because, oh, but do you know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, this is the last thing. This is a good thing to end on. You cannot lose in this battle, life. You cannot fail. Thus, it is not a battle at all, but simply a process. Yet if you do not know this, you will see it as a constant struggle. And this is kind of like back to the point that I was just making of every hardship has a purpose. If it was all linearly perfect and like no lessons to be learned, that's not the point. The point is to make the most of every struggle and hardship. And honest, not to necessarily seek them out, but like don't become a shell of a human and have a shell of a life just to avoid it. There's something beautiful in every hardship, in every lesson, or there is a lesson. It's not failure if you're fail. It's just another fucking step, girl. And something that I learned, and again, this is why I'm like, everything is God, is because in sales, one of the things that they used to say to me was every no is a step closer to a yes. And I'm like, that is godly. Like every no, or like every literal or metaphorical no that gets put in my way is a step closer to what is more aligned, because it wouldn't, if it's not meant for you, bitch. No. Anyway, um, no further questions, Your Honor. I think that I'll end it on that. Of you literally can't fail. And you just have to pursue love and light and being the best version of yourself. And that is how, through those mistakes and what the fucks along the way, that is how you find your purpose and your higher power and you and who and, and who you are in here. We are chiseling out who we are already inside, bitch. She's in there. You just gotta sand it here, sand it. Little elbow grace. Anyway, I thought I didn't have anything to yap about today, and that's the funniest fucking thing I've heard all day. Okay, girl. Have a blessed evening. And all this is also to say this doesn't have to be about Christianity. Hey, this is just about living a fulfilling life, okay? It doesn't have to be God. It can be universe to you, or like people who are atheists who hurt you. Who hurt you? Genuinely. And if the church hurt you, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm not gonna go down. Lord knows that'll be another 30 minutes. So I love y'all. Have the best day. And pursue laugh with love. Live, laugh, love. And that's it, Your Honor.